Hello everybody, this is Lauralee from Personal Cook Lauralee. I'm coming back. I know it's been a while after the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas and kids vacation and kids being sick and all. I am back and I'm happy to share with you what I'll be cooking tonight. So tonight I was feeling like a little pasta, a little meat. Actually I was wanting to cook my version of the zuppa Toscana from Olive Garden. From Olive Garden. It's one of my best soups that I am into for right now. And I didn't have kale. So I kind of wanted also to have a lasagna. So this is what I came up with tonight to satisfy my cravings of the soup and lasagna all in one. We'll be using some mushrooms tonight, some button mushrooms, some garlic, some onions, of course. If you know me, I can never cook without any garlic, and then also some other herbs. I started already is to chop some of my garlic. I almost never cook without any garlic. My 9-year-old is into mushrooms, so anytime I cook or can cook with mushrooms, I put it in the meal. My little one doesn't really always notice it. But anyways, I'm going to be chopping these up so I can put this into the sauce. The sauce that I will be making tonight with the rigatoni pasta will be my Gorgonzola white sauce, and really creamy, really good. So I hope again that you like my version. Just chop these up really quickly. So I have my garlic chopped up. That will be going into the sauce and into the meat when it's browning. And then I also did a little bit of both. I had some shallots, and it's been a while since I used shallots, so I'm going to be putting that into the dish tonight. And I'm also going to use my my new favorite, Vidalia onions. I think it's so yummy and sweet, and it's very flavorful. So shallots are really good. They're obviously onions, right? But they're a little mild taste. So I think with this, I'll be putting this in the meat, and then the Vidalia onions I will be putting in the sauce. It will go ahead and cook very nice and slow, very tasty, very yummy, and it kind of melts into the sauce. So you'll notice that even if you don't like onions, you really will like the sauce. And of course, like I said, if there's something that you don't like, just put a little bit of it in it. Or if you want, just take a chunk of it and like a chunk of an onion or something like that, put it in, cook it in with the sauce, and then just take the big chunks out if you don't want to eat little small chunks like this with your sauce. It really is just very flavorful. All right, so I have this chopped up. So what I meant, just to show you example, if you don't like biting into an onion, no matter how big or small the size is, if you make something, if you cut something like this, then you can put it in the sauce. You get the flavor out, but again, don't get the texture of the onion. But I love cooking with onions, with garlic. I love cutting vegetables to cook. It's funny, I love cutting vegetables to cook, but when it comes to salads, I usually get the salad bags. Weird, huh? Yeah. All right, so and I'm digging some rosemary for like just a little rosemary for the meat when the meat is browning. Put some of this in here. Always watch your vegetables. You never know who's touched them. Even if it says already washed or pre-washed, somebody could have not washed their hands as they were putting or touching those vegetables, or at least that's how I think about it. So, all right, put these into tiny pieces. You don't want a lot of it, just a little bit to go throughout the meat. I'll be working with about 1 pound, I believe. Yes, 1 pound of mild Italian fresh sausage. And this time I got it from Publix. So this is what I'll be working with tonight. Alright guys, now that I cut up my veggies, I am here on this side. Please bear with me. My camera stand is just acting up. Not this pan, but this pan over here. I have water boiling with salt and pepper and olive oil. This is brown. Yeah, let's do one more so that we can have do the sauce and then on top when the meal is done. Nice and crispy. I'm going to go ahead quickly brush my pan. I love that sizzle sound. And then what I'm going to do is put in my rigatoni pasta into the water. In 1 second, how I do my sauce, usually I do equal parts. So if I do a tablespoon of butter, I will do a tablespoon of flour to start my roux and make my Gorgonzola sauce. So again, if I put a cup of butter, I'll put a cup of powder to get my roux going, and I'll show you the rest in a minute. How thick this bacon is. It's ridiculous, but it will be so good in the sauce. It kind of has rendered down a little bit. I have, again, the mushrooms, the garlic, rosemary. I have both Vidalia onions and shallots in here, but I'll basically go ahead and break this in, brown the meat, and I will be back and show you what else I will add to the meat. Back, and my meat is totally brown, and all of the veggies are incorporated with the meat. There goes my little chef. And so here, all she is doing, I had cut up some sage leaf.
I like to do everything with my mom. Like go to the store and say have our day together.
Yes, I have our days together. So I'm gonna go ahead and add these beans in here.
So we're gonna mix it now.
I got my handy little chef there.
I'm a chef.
Go ahead and put some fennel seeds in as well.
Get some more
all around. Make sure that flavor goes throughout.
I'm gonna do
some herb de Provence, a little bit of that in here.
Now I'm gonna mix it up. Her little daughter.
All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and put some oregano. Mix that in throughout the meat.
Put it everywhere, Mom.
We will put it everywhere. And then we're gonna keep going with some flavors. And we're gonna go ahead and put a little bit of that. And that's good, that's good, that's good.
And I like
a little bit of black pepper.
And I like to cook all the time.
That's good. As my assistant, go ahead and mix those in. I'm gonna go ahead and put my favorite, some sun-dried tomatoes. I love using tomatoes in a lot of different things, but fresh tomatoes always irritates my skin, but sun-dried tomatoes always works for me. I can do pasta sauce, I can do ketchup, and I can do these. So I do love this in my dishes, whether it's soup, Italian meals, just basically anything. Use some balsamic vinegar a little bit to give it that little tang. And then of course, this is just seasoning the meat. Go ahead and put some store-bought pesto to save time. It's about a little baby spoon. I'm gonna do 1.
And 2.
Yeah, it's a heaping spoon of a little tiny little like teaspoon. We're gonna mix that in, and then we're gonna add the pasta, and then you'll see we'll kind of combine all of these delicious ingredients in there.
Yeah, really.
Along with some of the bacon. In a minute, I'm letting it cool down a little bit. Put some of the bacon there, and then save some to put on top of the sauce. I've slowly put about this much of this bottle. So most likely I'm going to use this whole bottle, but it's just Chardonnay, and it's one of those like cooking bottles. And I just layered it. So, for example, if all of the crust was building up in the bottom, just shot a little bit more of the wine. But if you're worried about eating alcohol, usually within 30 to 1 minute, it kind of cooks off. So if you're serving this to your kids or your family, you should be all set as long as you cook it through. So here goes the pasta that's going to go ahead and marinate into the meat. I've put some of the bacon in there, if you can see that, and just adding the rest of it. It was 2 strips. There were 4 strips of bacon, and 2 went into this meat, and then the other 2 will go into the sauce. At the beginning of the sauce, sorry, forgot to kind of record. And so I already have the render fat from the bacon earlier. And what I did is I cut up some onions, some of the Vidalia onions, some garlic. And so what I'm going to do is the vegetables started to brown. Got my little helper here again coming out of nowhere. I mean, the leftover wine that I had earlier that I showed you into the pan. But I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more. So it's about a half of this one right here. Let that baby simmer. Come back to it, put my flour, then my milk, and then my cheese, and then the sauce will be all done, creamy, delicious, and is super satisfying. I ended up using that whole little bottle of wine, and so I'm going to go ahead and add milk to this as well, but right now I'm going to go ahead and fluff this into there. And I'm going to put this down to the side, mix this in. You don't want it to be lumpy. You want it to have a smooth sauce, and continue to incorporate that. I mix this all in, and it kind of clumps up like that. Don't worry about it. That's just fine. That's the roux. I want my roux to be nice and thick, and it's full of flavor. Go ahead and add my milk slowly, and you'll see the end results. And then just slowly cook your Gorgonzola cheese into your cheese sauce, and it will be absolutely perfect. And I'm just smoothing it out. I walked away for a little bit, and so there's just a little bit of the flours that I'm trying to get out. I have not put any cheese in here, and look how creamy this is already. So here comes the awesome Gorgonzola cheese. And this one I do usually pick it from Publix, about half of the cup, and this cup is about 9 ounces. Or actually less than a cup. Half a cup. Now I'll mix that in. I really want that to go out through the whole thing. I'll add a little bit more cheese. And I'll also add a little bit more Parmesan. So now this is about half the container. Maybe a little bit more. And just let that sit and marinate. And I just want to show you guys something real quick. That's just the sauce that's going to go into this. If you wanted to, you can stop right here. Just add a little bit more olive oil and call this a day. As I was cooking this, my kids were hungry. They were ready to go, and they ate it like this, and they absolutely loved it. Of course, my little one, as you heard her, she'd say yuck when it came to the sun-dried tomatoes. But my oldest daughter, my 9-year-old, ate it all gone, and they were loving it. So they are meat eaters like I am. So next time, the only thing I would do is do 2 pounds of meat if I'm going to do a whole bag of the pasta. It was fine. It was delicious. The meat is going throughout the meal, so you're not going to miss out. However, we are meat eaters, and it's kind of neat because you take a pasta and you think there's nothing in there, and then there's either a bean or beans and meat or herbs just like this. So it's just really a nice surprise. So again, if you wanted to stop right here, you will still have a fabulous dish, but I'm going to take it to the next step and just do the Gorgonzola sauce on top, so we can have kind of like a lasagna, pasta lasagna here, okay? All right, so here we have the sauce cooking about 15-20 minutes after I did all the mixture. It's lighter than before, but it's still nice and thick and rich. So I like to always test it to see if it's ready by sticking a spoon in there. And so if you see that, see how it sticks to the spoon? And you go like this, make a line, that's nice and thick, that's perfect. I wouldn't use my finger right now because this is really, really hot, but this is the perfect type of texture that you want the sauce to be. So my last thing I'm going to add is I've put fresh garlic in there, which is great. But I did put a lot of milk and I didn't measure it, so you're just gonna have to play back the video and see how much you think I pour in there. I'm just gonna put a little bit of this garlic powder, maybe a little bit more because I really want the flavors to go throughout. And then, of course, I'm gonna add some black pepper. I'm going to taste for salt because Gorgonzola has a lot of salt in it already. And I'm going to go ahead and put some Parmesan cheese that my 9-year-old kind of shredded for me. That much black pepper. And I believe this one is a cup or a cup and a half, so she probably did like, I don't know, that much. And mix that, and I'm going to save a little bit to go on top. And of course, I've always heard other chefs say, you know, when you make a white sauce, you should always put a little bit of nutmeg or use the fresh one. I usually have the fresh one to where I have to grate it myself. I ran out, so this is just going to have to do. Just going to put a little bit, as they always say, to make people say, what is that in there? And honestly, I'm just gonna let it be. I think I'm gonna put a little bit more black pepper. I like it the way it is. If you want, you can put a little bit Himalayan pink salt or more salt, but I'm gonna go be okay with that. I'm gonna shake some of my thyme leaves and just peel them. All you do is kind of pinch it, pull it back, and they'll come out for that lemony taste without the lemon juice. And I do it last minute so that it can hold its color and its shape and not turn like a dark green. Some people like to wait for a little longer, but I'm happy at this stage to put it in and mix it in. I like black pepper, just a little bit on top. A little bit more thyme on top. So go ahead for the spoonful. Tell me what you think.
Can I use this one? Okay.
As she tries, it's hot. There's bacon in there.
Ooh.
What do? Give it a thumbs up?
Mm-hmm.
Alright guys, so here is the finishing results in my meal. I started off wanting to have the soup from Olive Garden, the zuppa toscana soup, but I didn't have the kale and I didn't have tons of broth. Just had wine, so I worked with what I had. And I also wanted a little bit of lasagna, so I was kind of in between of what I wanted to eat. So this is what I came up with. So I did the pasta. I did my cheesy Gorgonzola cheese, which doesn't go in either the regular lasagna or even the zuppa toscana. But when I think of lasagna, I think of also white sauce. Usually I mix my red and white sauce together when I make my lasagna or meatballs. And so that's how I came up with that. And so this is done. It's cooked. I put it in the oven for about 10 minutes at 400 degrees to have everything just really melt together. And when I made my sauce, I actually put the Parmesan cheese towards the ends. And so now all I'm doing is I just cut up some green onions and some of the bacon. The kids were picking on it, so I have less bacon now. And all I'm going to do is go ahead and spread that throughout the lasagna, pasta dish, whatever you would like to call it. But regardless, I can assure you that this tastes good. As I mentioned, even if you don't add the sauce, this will be a tremendous meal. My daughter already ate her meal, but then she tried it with the sauce and she was like, that's really good. So this is, like I said, the finishing results, she does not want to be recorded, but maybe you can hear her voice. So bring that plate closer. All right, so that's the size that she's getting to try. I won't record her as I promised, Okay, go ahead. Tell me what you think, baby. You should see her face.
Very good, but very hot.
Yes, very.
I'm her other daughter. Right
Oh,
here.
you want to try this? Just to break it down, here goes the beans that would be in the soup, sausage meat, all of those just ridiculous flavors in there. Gorgonzola cheese, Parmesan cheese, tomato. You can put basil. I didn't put basil here this time, but rosemary and thyme, garlic, onions, Vidalia onions, shallots, and then wine and milk. It's so delicious. So, I don't think I should record myself eating, but my hands are doing the happy dance move. You guys, I did this for a romantic night, a special event, just to have a girls' night out. All of the above will be so pleasing